Hello there folks, this is Ferenc on board again. Welcome to my YouTube channel, a place where I discuss different things and I take into account different topics on spirituality and on usually introspection, dream interpretation and other similar topics. This time I was interested in discussing a bit on video games, and well, if it's also about video games, why not speak a bit of my own as well, or at least present it a bit. So the point of video games is many people are kind of hyped up about, many people are interested in trying their best or trying to achieve something when they want to create video games. The purpose of my video game is to not be just a video game. I seek to add a lot of introspection into it, and I've actually been working a lot at it, and I've actually added a lot of things lately. It's just a simple fact that I'm working towards the state machine of the game, something that I really want to create. So basically a state machine is something that manipulates different stances that a character, an action, an event or whatever can have and can manifest. So the point is it's a bit trickier to implement than I expected. The game is not fully functional yet. There are several things that are not working, and yes, some timers are not working accordingly. The state of this character should have changed by now. As you can see, it shows a shield in here and should have it should have changed by now. So yeah, the point about video games is that so many people want to create video games, but the purpose of this video today is to remind them that video games are not the best way to make money out of. Many people believe that they can make a lot of money out of video games, but they just don't understand the basic principle of how things go. Now, well, let's not speak too much about my game and let's focus more on the video. So video games are a good way to spend your time. They are a very good way to, achieve a lot of things, test yourself, see how much you can improve, and they are a good representation of how a person is, and also especially of their past, because if you know how to read people in certain ways, you will see that video games actually can help you a lot on that. It can easily underline the superficiality of people, or the depths of how a person can be. And in video games usually people feel much free because the restrictions of the outside world don't really apply. It's easy to get hyped up when it comes to creating video games, but I have to underline that it's one of the most daunting tasks one can actually dive into. And in terms of programming, it is the least well paid because, well, it's just entertainment. It's not something critical like with software creation or like industrial process management, when you create the machines and the programming for the machines to work. Now the point with video games is, as I see them, they are exactly like money. They are just an amplifier of the respective person. If a person is a jerk and they get more money, most likely they will become a greater jerk. With video games it's the same thing. The only reason why people can't be full-fledged jerks, unless they really are, it's that, well, society kind of disallows to a certain extent, which is kind of smaller and smaller by the day, because there are certain repercussions, which in video games of course kind of fall off. And there are a lot of trolls, there are a lot of negative people. Why gaming is a much better way of getting money out of rather than video game development and design, because you never know if you'll actually get your money back unless you understand a few principles of life. My purpose as a video game developer and designer, and I've been a designer like now, even if it's only for myself, not under a job, but it's much better to work for myself than for others. It's been 14 months and a half now, so all I can say, I think it's probably more than, but Um, the point is, I'm very conscious of the fact that video games are not a very good income source, or can be a good income source, but you see, it takes a very long time to create a game. And some of the greater games usually take several years to create, and the market shifts quite not that much necessarily, but you never know when you finish the game if people will still embrace it. So all the resources that you have spent in your game, it would be very wise to actually, take that into account and say, hey, it's easy to create a simple game, especially in a smaller platform, because, I'm working in an RPG Maker because it is a small platform and it is easy to use, especially with my having little to no coding knowledge. Now that I have expanded over time, I have started using several scripts as well, the basic library stuff. But the point is, if you want to dive into greater platforms like Unity or Unreal or Godot, these are much more complex, and video game creation will become much more time consuming, and it's also a great strain on your finances. It is something that takes a long time to create. You will need a lot of people to contact, because in these days, one of the principles of life, it's always been like this, but nowadays with technology we have much greater access. If you don't form relationships, strong relationships with people to help you, you will rarely achieve things, or you will achieve them but in a much longer time. Back then I wanted to become a one-man army, the one capable of doing everything for their own game. The soundtracks, the characters, the animations, literally everything. But thinking at how much it would take to learn all those skills and master them, it's like it's better to create the right connections and have people to, do the other work for you, because it's hard to create the right music, to also handle character creation, animations, doing the coding. It's much better if you can couple your work with others. However, when it comes to my own games, I prefer things being added my specific way. So most likely I will handle the design and the coding part. But still, the music is still required, and I have acquired a lot of music packs for now, for this game platform and other. You also require the assets, which I also bought an abundance of, but with every platform you also require new assets, at least to be used as placeholders until you can replace them with something new, because I've heard that people kind of look down on games that are just, a copy paste of assets, although I really don't know why they do that. It's like adding your own pieces, yes, that's original, but people probably fail to understand that it's very, very hard and it takes a long time to be a one-man army, to be the one who can also do your sprites, who does the animations and literally everything, because big platforms like Unity and Unreal require big assets, okay? And it's not that hard to learn how to use Maya or Blender for character creation, probably even animations, but it just takes time, okay? It's much easier to pay someone to do that. So many people may not understand. It's like, hey, do you want just different assets, or it's like, do you hate on the market assets just being put into the games? Like, what's the problem with that? People create those pieces so that players can use them. Yes, if something is very good and 1,000 players use it, it's probably gonna be a bit annoying, but let's be a bit honest now. Who's got the time to play 1,000 games? When you start creating your own games, that's gonna be a challenge, because it's gonna take a really long time. And at times I'm even spending 10, even 15 hours working on my game. So not always, not daily, and I also have a job to take care of, and I have several other things to take care of at times, and yes, I handle them greatly. And I also spend a little time playing Heroes of the Storm from time to time, because why not? I mean, it's actually as a video game designer and developer, it's best that you're also a gamer. And speaking of gaming, this is something that most likely I'll drop a video on. Yes, a gamer is not necessarily someone who just plays game. A gamer is someone who understands more intricate things, okay? Like, more intricate game mechanics, and usually I'm a good deep diver. So the point is, being introspective and always taking things seriously, and unexpectedly seriously for so many people I've seen around me, that's also something very good. Um, it requires a certain amount of depth to understand different games. The game is not just pressing a few buttons. The game is more like the code which is beyond it, okay? It's what I call the code of life. For me, games have always been that aspect that allowed me to experience different worlds. But in the end, those worlds were more or less like little reflections of myself. When I was young, I would imagine how things would be, if I were the hero, or if I were a companion to the hero. But even then, at that early age, I think I was in the 6th or 7th grade, I realized, or probably a bit later, I realized that that world doesn't have any place for me, because the moment I get in there, things will be changed and the world will never be the same. So, such imagination kind of no longer had any importance to me. But again, video games have been a way for me to keep improving on my own self and expanding myself on multiple levels. In the end, video games are nothing else than just a vehicle in life. Video games are something that allow you to understand greater depths of yourself. They are a way to meet new people, and they are a way of testing your different skills in understanding things, mechanics, multitasking, and different other aspects. Okay? Even if you're not a good gamer, they are a good way to relax, so long as you're not using them as a drug activity, which is something I've spoken of, in previous videos. Now, the point is, I want to wrap this video up. So, video games can be challenging when it comes to finances. They can end up requiring a lot of finances, and for someone like me, coming from a much poorer country, from the Central Eastern Europe, the point is, my 3-figure salary for now is, probably something strange for most people who are used with 4 or 5-figure income. But I've already spent $1,000 plus now on my video game for the assets, all sorts of things, plugins and different things. So it's been somewhat daunting. I've had several months in which I had to delay several things, but I'm glad with the project. I'm really happy with how it's going, and well, I'm really pushing forward to finalize this demo, because I've been postponing my main chapter for quite a while now. So until next time, take great care of yourself. Remember to do more and more inner work, especially now when this is the greatest chance, this is the greatest time for us to thrive. Take care of yourself. You are loved and appreciated. Ferenc on board signing out.